Welcome to the greatest podcast in sports betting entertainment. My name is Tanner Kern, certified G, bona fide stud, and you can't teach that. And this right here, this is G Money Grant Mitchell. He's a Commanders fan, and he's feeling pretty good today because the Eagles are a trash football team, and you can't teach that. Bada boom, man, the people in the room. G Money Grant Mitchell should be more worried about the Cowboys in the NFCs than the Eagles. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. You know, it's post day. We had football eve on Wednesday. We had the first day of football. We got another game tonight, so I'm excited about that. Really, the biggest thing I'm concerned about is I'm going to the game on Sunday, and I'm just hoping Jaden Daniels doesn't spit on Abdul Carter or Dexter Lawrence, because I guess that's what we do now. I guess that's what the NFC East has become.
I wonder what Kirby Smart was thinking watching that game. Like he's got the fastest football team on the streets of Athens, Georgia that you're ever going to find. He teaches his players no discipline. They don't go to class. And that's what's crazy to me. Like, Georgia is such a program that is totally locked in on the mission at hand. They win championships. The culture is there when they're on the field. Obviously, you got guys that drive race cars off the field and randomly, race in the streets of Athens, Georgia, but they still win football games. The discipline and accountability is there between the white lines. And then you get a guy like Jalen Carter spitting on Dak Prescott last night. Now, Dak did spit on Jalen, but the first problem was the fact that he was 3 yards over the ball when the dude was getting carted off. He was like right over the ball, talking shit, saying things. And that made Dak come over, spit his feet. And then, since Dak spit at his feet in front of no referees, Jalen decided to hawk to the chest of Dak Prescott right in front of a referee. Like, literally, referees right there. Let me spit in your face.
Yeah, so growing up, I was taught, I don't even know if it was my parents or just friends being around people, whatever, but I was taught that as a man, one of the most disrespectful, maybe the most disrespectful thing you can do is to spit on somebody. It's worse than punching somebody, because at least that is an act of natural aggression. From when you spit on somebody, it's like you're spitting on the street, the bottom of a shoe. You're walking over me, you think nothing of me. Dak, he spit. It looked like it was at Jalen Carter's feet. I don't know if it hit his feet. I don't know if it landed in front of him. The story that Dak spun at the press conference was that Jalen Carter was talking smack to Tyler Booker, who's a rookie making his NFL debut. Dak steps up to defend him. Dak says, I had to spit, which I'll stick up. You've been on a football field. Guys are spitting left, right, and center. In that context, does Jalen Carter interpret it as Dak was trying to spit on me? Maybe. Point is, if he did, it hit his feet. If it didn't, then he landed in the grass in front of him. Jalen Carter spits Dak's collarbone area up by his face. It's two very different things. You can say that Dak was poking the bear, and that's what got Jalen to react that way. But if you're Jalen Carter, first of all, the way in football goes. The guy who responds is always the one who gets flagged. Face mask, a punch, whatever. It's always the guy who responds that gets flagged. But in this instance, when you're spitting on somebody 2 feet away from the referee, you're going to get tossed. You can't start off like that.
And Jalen Carter's the king of personal fouls. He's the king of unsportsmanlike conducts and unnecessary roughness. He's really good at it. Like, he's a Hall of Famer in that category. Now, Dak making that up at the press conference was ridiculous. Like, he clearly spits and says something as he spits and looks him up and down. Like, it wasn't like I'm clearing my throat kind of thing. Jalen Carter took it way too far and spit at him on top of it. Wasn't so much that he spit on him. Like, if he spits on him and nobody's around, that's why. If you got him on the ground and you hawk a loogie in his face and your face is covered and the ref can't see, so be it. We're playing ball now. But the fact that the ref is right there on top of the football and you spit in his face is crazy to me. Also, Dak should have took a swing at Jalen Carter after that. Like, Dak had a free shot to take at Jalen Carter after getting spit on, and he wouldn't have been flagged for it.
You know what? What's being lost in all of this is Jalen Carter's teammate has probably just suffered a season-ending injury. How about you go stand with him? Why are you so preoccupied by talking smack to Dak Prescott? How about you go pat your teammate on the back? He spent the last 7 months. I don't know if this player, I don't even know his name. I apologize. I don't know if he was on the Super Bowl winning team. Maybe he was, maybe he wasn't. But he spent the last 7 months getting prepared, juiced up, divisional opponent, banner night, first game, first play of the year. Not even a snap. And he's out for the year. Go stand by him. Why are you so worried about Dak?
I think you should suspend him 3 games. I think 3 games is a fair suspension. 2 more.
Yeah, so what I've seen is this, in the eyes of the decision makers, this is going to be looked at as a 1-game suspension because he didn't even play.
Yeah. as it should be, but he should get more games on top of what he got here.
So I would have to go back and look because I don't know. I can't remember the last time we've had a legitimate spitting incident like this. There was actually something with AJ Brown and Marshawn Lattimore, I think last year, maybe in the second Eagles Commanders game. I don't think anything happened from that, but I don't know what the normal. I don't know what the normal penalty is for a spitting incident.
Well, like even I forget who made the tackle, but the flex that caused the 15-yard penalty last night, great play, whoever the defender
Oh
was.
yeah, it's so soft that we're calling.
The NFL is getting very soft, especially with like the hit to the tight end.
Ferguson, right?
Ferguson in the end zone.
Was it Ferguson? It was a tight end.
It was Ferguson. It wasn't Schoonmaker. So like that, what's the defender going to do in that situation? There's a lot of problems in today's game. Like he didn't even come in he didn't come in with like a demon look in his eyes trying to take his head off. Like, what are you going to do in that situation? You got to go knock the ball out. But also the other problem is the fact that dudes are streaking down the field on 3rd and 23. That's also a big issue. But my thing is, as far as like the suspension here, I think suspension should be equated to how dumb a player is. Like, truthfully, like this is just dumb beyond belief. That and again, it's harmless in the end of the day. Nobody gets hurt, but he deserves more than one game because it's so dumb and egregious that it should be a 3-game suspension in my mind, because you want to set the tone and say this is not okay. And it's not like, again, there's a lot worse things you can do to get suspended for games, but this is just so, like, how dumb can you be suspension?
Well, here's my question for you, because we know the NFL is focused on optics. They've changed the rules to make it more offensive because that means there's more viewership. People are watching. They're doing things like they're limiting your celebrations. Like we were just talking about, the league's gone soft a bit. So do you think it plays a role in this at all, that this was first game of the year, opening night, banner night, first play of the season, everybody's watching, nobody's turned the game off yet? Do you think that is going to make the league more likely to give Jalen Carter a hefty suspension versus otherwise if it was just the third quarter of like week 8?
I mean, if this was the Giants and the Panthers, it probably wouldn't even made ESPN this morning. But now it's all they're going to talk about on First Take today.
So you think it does make it more likely there's a harsher penalty?
Yeah, I mean, if they really want to punish him, you at least suspend him one more week for the Kansas City game, because the Eagles go play the Chiefs next week. You at least suspend him for that. And you know what? Because it's Patrick Mahomes, maybe they actually will do that. Who knows? But I'm so disturbed by it. And I wish you could just spit in somebody's face in football. I think the NFL would be a better place if we could take people's heads off across the middle. We could spit in people's faces. We could flex and celebrate after tackles. I think it'd be a much better and more enjoyable league, because the way they're making this league, especially with the penalties now, but the kickoffs, the touchbacks going to the 35-yard line, like, what are we doing here? These kickers are so good that if you get 30 yards, you're already in field goal range, which is my issue. There's just a lot of things I don't like about the NFL after watching the past couple seasons develop. With that being said, I think that this is so far outside of what you can do under the current NFL's leadership. You never spit in a guy's face. If you get thrown out of the game right away, you need to get suspended more than one game, because it's so stupid. It's something that the player fully controls. If you flex after the play and you say something, you're in the heat of the moment. This is like he shouldn't even cross the ball to be next to the Cowboys huddle. Like that's a 15-yard flag right there.
Yeah, if the stuff, the celebrations after plays, I'm totally on the player's side of that, because football is a physical, violent game, and when that happens, you have to turn off the part of your brain that has self-preservation, and that's your more. It's just the side of you that tempers whatever it is you're doing. It says, no, take a second to think this through. You can't do that in football. You got to be violent. You got to be physical. You got to be impulsive. So when they make a tackle for a 3-yard loss and they stand up flexing, and the referees throw a flag, and I'm not even blaming the referees because they're doing their jobs. It's the decision makers in the NFL office that say we have to hunt this out. Well, if you do that, you're going to get players who play worse because they're thinking about everything that is happening instead of reacting. I
mean, I will say, if you flex on somebody and say something to them after making a tackle, you have no control. Like, the players need to be better. I wish we didn't have that rule, but it's not a hard rule to follow. You can celebrate. You can do whatever you want. celebration wise. You can't flash a gun. You can't do a knife. You can't do a bow and arrow. You can't do any gun violence stuff celebrating now. You can't lean over a guy and call them, you know what. You can literally do anything else involving your teammates. You could do whatever you want celebration wise involving your teammates, as long as it's not you pointing a gun to the sky with your hand. So they still let them celebrate. You just got to be smarter. I wish we were able to like see the guy lean over and, say what they want after making a tackle. But in the end of the day, you still can do a lot. A lot of them don't follow the rules.
Well, let's talk about this game. So I don't know what's your biggest takeaway. My biggest takeaway, the number one thing I want to say here is the the lightning delay. Nobody could get a stop. You finally got the Miles Sanders fumble, but the Cowboys were marching down the field when that happened. Just to recap here: touchdown, 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 field goal, touchdown, field goal, field goal, fumble. Again, the Cowboys have gone 61 yards at this point on this possession. You change possessions, go over to the Eagles. I think after like the first or second play, they shut the game down for the delay. You come back, nobody scores. Nobody goes. The longest drive from that point on was 11 plays, 32 yards. Nobody scored a point. So there was a very clear line in the sand where teams go back to the locker room and say, hey, this is what they're doing. This is what we're doing. This is how we're changing it. Also, the players just lost their rhythm. Bodies went cold a little bit, and the game completely changed. I mean, this was going to be a 41-38, and instead there was no points after that point on.
I don't think it had anything to do with teams making adjustments in the locker room. I think it had more so to do with the fact that the Philadelphia Eagles got very conservative with their play calling. I think they were just content trying to run the ball first, second down, and then you stick Jalen Hurts in a spot that he hasn't really been in all night, which is third and long, and he wasn't successful in it. And then for Dallas, Dallas missed opportunities. CeeDee Lamb, we'll talk about him. He dropped some passes. The Cowboys fumbled earlier before the lightning delay. They just missed opportunities more so. I mean, they were still getting some pretty nice chunk plays through the air. My biggest takeaway, and I posted this online, and the Eagles fans, the craziest fan base in all football. Basically, I don't think they're that good. I think defensively, they're not good. They're terrible on defense because you got lit up by really one guy last night. CeeDee Lamb, he lit you up. And the fact that, like I said, before with the Jake Ferguson roughing or, whatever call in the end zone, the bottom line there was that we got guys streaking down the field. How many times was it second and long, third and long, and they're giving up big plays through the air, whether it's through PI or just a shot play down the field? That's not the sign of a good defense. So the Eagles fans counter is the fact, we didn't have Jalen Carter. Well, the fact that you don't have Milton Williams right now, who got a lot of money in free agency, Josh Sweat, CJ Gardner-Johnson, Darius Slay, that is making an impact on your football team. And they say, well, last year at this point, we weren't expected to win a Super Bowl. So it's the same thing this year. Well, you had a lot more talent there last year than you do now. So I think offensively, they're going to be okay. Jalen Hurts has got to find a way to throw the football a little bit more. They didn't have to do it last night necessarily. The offense was good, but defensively, the Eagles are in trouble. And if they go out and get one cornerback at the trade deadline, I don't really care. It doesn't make a difference to me. They lost a lot of talent.
So I never really like playing the hypothetical game. I can entertain it in certain circumstances. If Jalen Carter, you remember, I think it was in the Super Bowl, Dre Greenlaw tore his Achilles running onto the field. There's a change of possession. He was going out there. If that happened to Jalen Carter, we could play a hypothetical game. When he, on his own volition, spits on a player and gets himself ejected, you can't play the hypothetical game because he chose to make that happen. Just like if he chose to beat the center and get a sack, if he chose to get a strip sack, he made that decision. So he removed himself from this game. Nobody else did it. The injury gods didn't do it. That was his choice. So I'm not playing the hypothetical game on that. From just the perspective of the Eagles defense, here's the thing. The Eagles fans who actually want to talk facts, they were one of the worst defenses over the first 4 weeks last season. They insert Cooper DeJean into the slot. It completely changed the complexion of their defense. You can look at EPA, stuff like that. They went from I think they might have actually been dead last. I think they might have been 32nd to then first in all the advanced metrics, basically. So they're the ones who are actually a little tempered in this conversation. They'll say, look, this happened to us last year. Vic Fangio runs a very complex system. It takes time to get things adjusted, yada, yada, yada. We'll see what happens. Okay, that is an opinion I would actually respect. But if we are talking about just, is this team good enough to win a Super Bowl? They still have talent. Don't get me wrong. We spent all offseason saying the Eagles and the Ravens, more talent than everyone else. Maybe the Lions are in that conversation as well. But they have holes. And you saw that. You saw them acknowledge that. They benched Adoree Jackson in the second quarter. And same thing, he went to the tent, to the injury tent, comes out. He's totally fine to check back in. They won't put him back in. Cornerback 2 is going to be a major issue. If they can't get home with 4, and that's where the Jalen Carter absence really did hurt them. If they can't get home with 4, they're going to have major issues. You saw them using the athleticism of Zach Bond and Jihad Campbell to try to drop back in pass coverage a couple times. But there was one play where they were in cover 2, and Campbell was in the deepest drop of them all, and he was 30, 40 yards down the field. And it's like, that's just not something that should be naturally happening in this situation. So, yes, there is the possibility that they do figure this thing out just like they did last year. But at the same time, they're starting in a much lower spot, I think, just in terms of, like you said, all the offseason movement. The back end, you've got Makuba, DeJean, and Quinyon Mitchell, who are all first or second year players, all got talent, but still you're straining them. You're straining the young guys an awful lot.
Yeah, they missed a lot of tackles too. And the blitz, or the pressure, I'd say they didn't blitz much last night, but it wasn't really getting home. I do think Jalen Carter obviously makes a difference there, but you still need your edge guys to make plays too. There were a lot of times where they were getting run around the quarterback, and when they did get there, they couldn't even tackle. So Jalen Carter makes a difference, don't get me wrong, but there's no excuse to be giving up 20-yard plays on 2nd and 20. There's no excuse. Like, even I can't tell you how many times there also could have been PI called on the Philadelphia Eagles secondary on big shot plays down the field. So it was a really bad defensive night. The floor is much lower for the team, and the ceiling is also much lower because of their defense. And it's also hard to go back to back. And I think that's what people are forgetting here. Like, I think Eagles fans just think it's going to be easy for them to go back to back because they were so dominant towards the end of the season last year. It's really hard to do that. Very few teams, but the Chiefs have done it. The Patriots have done it, I think, right?
Yeah. 9 penalties for 110 yards. They're the first team in however long to have 90 yards of penalties in the first half.
They survived last night. And now this is a game that if CeeDee Lamb doesn't drop a few of the passes, and don't get me wrong, the Cowboys definitely got help off the penalties. Like the penalties did help them. The Eagles played a clean game. I think maybe they win a little more convincingly, but this was a game the entire time where it just came down to the Dallas Cowboys shooting themselves in the foot more than anything else. Because honestly, the Cowboys defense looked a lot better than the Eagles defense down the stretch in this football game.
Oh yeah, 100%. Also because we know, although the Cowboys did show us more on offense, we know the Eagles should be better than them, right? Dak is coming off the second season-ending leg injury of his career. Javonte Williams and Miles Sanders, neither one of them averaged more than 4 yards a carry the last 2 years. Okay, you've got CeeDee Lamb, you've got George Pickens who can make tough catches, but his route tree is very limited. It's basically all vertical. You got a young offensive line. You just lost Zach Martin. Your tight end, Jake Ferguson, okay, he's not terrible, but he's not elite either. The Eagles have more talent. They have more continuity. They have more familiarity with who each other are. Yet it was the Cowboys who, more times than not, you actually walked away a little more impressed by.
Yeah, and even if Miles Sanders scores, they don't fumble, right? Like, I still believe the Eagles are going to win the game. I still think the Eagles offense is going to go down and win the football game, or at least score. They didn't have to score last night. They were content, just run, try to throw the ball on third down, punt, play defense, because they guess they believe they weren't going to score a touchdown, which I don't know how. But when you call the game differently if they're up 1 versus being up 4, it's a much different offensive game for them. So I still think the Eagles could have answered if they had to last night. Luckily, they didn't have to. Just a wild game. Tough beat for over bettors last night. It was at 44. The total was 47.5. It pretty much sat at 44 for the final 20 something minutes of the game. And really no scoring opportunities on either side after the Miles Sanders fumble.
Yeah. One thing that I do want to touch on here is the Jalen Hurts piece of it. So watching the game, it looked like you can barely see what's happening down the field, obviously, with the camera angle. It just looked like he had to have been missing throws because a lot of scrambles, a lot of very short stuff. So I went back and actually watched the all 22 this morning. And what Jalen Hurts did a great job of last year, and this is where Eagles fans sometimes can get offended. When you call him, I actually saw someone, I wish I could remember who, someone put out, might have been Steven Ruiz, put out their quarterback rankings for this year. They had Jalen Hurts at like 13th, 14th, but they gave little very quick descriptions of every player's. And his one for Jalen Hurts was elite role player on an elite team. And I think that's a very good way to put it, because last year what Jalen did such a phenomenal job of, and this is not me dissing him, but he wouldn't take risks. He said, okay, I know I have Saquon Barkley, who's running for 2,000 yards. I know I have a historic defense. If I turn the ball over, I can lose us the game. I'm probably not going to win us the game just with the way that our team is set up to play, but I can lose it for us if I turn this ball over. So I think he carried some of those tendencies, some of those instincts into this game, because in watching the All-22, it's not necessarily that he was missing players. He certainly was a couple of times, but that wasn't the biggest takeaway I had. My biggest takeaway was he gave it like 1 second and then decided if I'm throwing it, it's short to this receiver or I'm tucking and running. He wasn't even really giving things a chance to develop downfield. And that worked in the situation, although Cowboys covered. Cowboys looked a lot better than we thought they would. And most people probably don't think the Cowboys are a great team. So you're on the road against the Chiefs next week. Then you've got the Rams. Then you're at the Buccaneers. Then you've got the Broncos. When you're playing those teams, you are going to have to make plays, because Saquon not going to rush for 2,000 yards this season. The defense doesn't look like it's going to be as good as it was last year. So Jalen's going to have to revert some of those tendencies and actually step up and make plays. And he had a terrific throw to Jahan Dotson on the double post, but that was a rarity. That's something that you basically never see from him. So he's going to have to develop, really not even physically. He's just going to have to overcome some of those tendencies that he's built up.
I'm higher on Jalen Hurts than you are. I still think Jalen Hurts is a top tier quarterback in the NFL. Does he benefit from being on a really good team? Yeah. But to win a Super Bowl, you need to have a good team. Unless you're Patrick Mahomes per se, he probably can do it without the talent around you. He just finds their defense, like at the Chiefs, their defense has kept them in games, and he's been good enough to go down and lead drives when he has to pretty consistently. But I still am very high on Jalen Hurts. I do like Jalen Hurts a lot. His ability to scramble. Now, granted, I didn't watch the end zone camera like you did, but he takes off early. He's still good enough to go make those plays with his legs, and that's what killed Dallas last night. Overall, it was Jalen Hurts scrambling. So I can't necessarily fault him for not going through his reads and his progressions, but I guarantee down the stretch, if you don't throw the ball to A.J. Brown in a football game, you are going to lose more times than not. So they need to get that fixed as well, because this is a passing league. The scrambles are going to be shut down by you put Micah Parsons out there for the Cowboys last night. It's a different story. He's staying in his rush lane. They're staying in their rush lanes a little more.
Yeah, I don't want what I just said to come across as I think Jalen played a bad game, because that's not what I'm saying. If Dallas had done a better job with their containing the pocket, rush lane integrity, would have been totally different. If they had taken away those runs and still everything that happened on the back end stayed the same, it would have looked a lot different. Jalen Hurts, according to ESPN, had a QBR of 93.7. I don't think he was that good, but I do think he played a good game. All I'm saying is, if you do take out those runs, which I know is a big part of it, but if you take them out and you just look at how he did as a passer, it was not very good. So it's something that you want to see develop. Like there was one, I forget what it was, but it was around like the 40 or 50 yard line or so, and it was 2nd and 10, something like that. And he had a throw for 8 yards, and it was quick, it was timing, but instead of going through his progressions, he stared down one player, didn't get it, took off and ran, and I think it went for like 1 yard. And then on the next play, he had somebody open in basically the exact same spot as the first play, and he completes it for like 6-7 yards, however long it was, but it's 4th down and now they kick it. It's like, if you had just done the easy job, it would have been 2 straight gains of 7-8 yards versus we're in 3rd and 2 or 4th and 2, and now we have to kick it away.
It's not a talented defense. It's an offense last night that probably didn't have to do anything outside the box. Like, what they were doing was working. So you really can't judge them off this game necessarily. I can judge the defense and say, if they have lost talent. That's what I can say. That's my biggest takeaway from the football game. Defensively, they need to improve a lot, and I don't know how much they can improve with the guys that they were lost in the offseason. Now, with Jalen Carter on the field, different story. We got to see how they look there. I think he should be suspended a little more, but that's just me. However, I still think they lost a lot of talent, and it's going to be very hard to get back to a Super Bowl based on that.
They didn't look good. And normally defenses start ahead of offenses. So this really flipped the script there.
Yeah, definitely. Any other thoughts on the game, Grant?
I think, I mean, this next month, again, the Eagles at Chiefs. I guess they have 10 days to prepare for it, so it's good for them. But the Chiefs are gonna have 9 days because they play tonight. At Chiefs, Rams, at Bucks, Broncos. You're gonna learn a lot about the Eagles in that stretch.
Totally agree there. We're going to talk about the Chiefs in a minute. But before we do that, make sure you guys go check out WSN.com. We got picks, promo codes, articles for pretty much every NFL game coming up this weekend. We also have just betting analysis, betting news, and then sports betting picks and promo codes. The sports books are giving away so many good deals this weekend. Like there are so many promotions going on. So make sure you guys sign up for all the accounts. And you can do that at WSN.com. Get a sign up bonus for pretty much every one of them, and then take advantage of all the deals that they're offering throughout the week and throughout the season. Grant, what about Ride the Line? Tell the people why they need to subscribe to this podcast.
Well, it is the NFL season, which means Tanner and I are obviously here in front of the camera. We're talking about the biggest games of the week, of the season. We are giving betting picks for pretty much every game that we're going to get to. Obviously, also the NBA is going to be starting up soon. We got everything you could ask for on top of our lovely charm and personality. So make sure you do hit that subscribe button. And if you want to support us, the number one way you can do that, which only takes 2 seconds out of your day, hit the like button. That's the easiest way to support us.
Hit that like button, subscribe. I want it all. Like, share, subscribe, do it all. Get it done. Get it done just like Jalen Hurts spat on the face of Dak Prescott last night. Not Jalen Hurts, Jalen Carter. That would have been cool if Jalen Hurts spit on Dak Prescott.
If he ran onto the field just to spit on him.
They had no Tanner McKee last. It was their backup.
No, they released Dorian Thompson-Robinson.
Sam Howell would have been the guy. So Tanner McKee was hurt last night.
Yes, he has a thumb injury.
How do backups get hurt?
He was like their only quarterback playing in the preseason. So
no excuse. It's the preseason.